G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Wrack City Bitch. This is episode number 5, and today I'm going to be talking about Intercessor Krios and his character Jack, the Fire of Salvation, and also some Temple Flame Guard musings. But let's start with the big man himself, Intercessor Krios! So when I started looking at Menoth back in 2010, there was no Intercessor Krios. And the faction that I ended up going with was Crix, and the reason for that was, whilst I really enjoyed the look of the models, like all of the figures with the knights and the men affixes and all that sort of shit, there wasn't really any one warlock that stood out to me / warcaster as something that I wanted to play. Harbinger's obviously always up there, and Amon back then, even then, was pretty awesome, but I didn't really look too deep into the casters because I didn't really understand the rules at the time. So now that I've gone back, earlier in this year I played a game against Dodgy Dave, and it was Vladimir Chepesky, the Great Prince, versus Intercessor Krios, and it was a fantastic game, actually, really fun. But it made me really want to have a close look at Krios 3, and is probably partly the inspiration for doing this, along with Resnick and Amon. But Krios 3, so Focus 7 is a fantastic stat. I think everyone knows that. Focus 6 is unless you got something red hot, you Focus 6 tends to struggle a little bit. But Focus 7 is where it's at, and his stat line is tremendous. I'm a massive fan of cavalry casters. I'm a massive fan of cavalry in general. And Krios has got a elite cadre for Vengers, which is just money on a stick. And then he's got pretty reasonable stats. They're not great. Defense 14 is a bit frustrating, actually, because I'm used to Vlad with 15, and 15 is a tipping point where you need 8s. If you're mat 7 or 6, it becomes a bit risky, but 14 is not great. But he's got something to help you get around that. He's also got a power 14 weapon, only one weapon though, which is unusual when I'm used to Vlad. And he has one of the best rules in the game, Divine Inspiration, Hand of Fate for him and all Vengers. Let me tell you, from playing with Hand of Fate for the last 6 months, that rule is fucking money. Unbelievable. So he's mat 8, which is awesome, and when you account for the fact that he's mat 10 on the charge, that's even awesomer. And he's got Brutal Charge, which makes him power 16 on the charge. So power 16, mat 10 on the charge is going to kill pretty much any 8 wound model, any solo, any card model, and it's going to do a fucking chunk of damage to a heavy, I can tell you that much. He's got 18 health, which is solid, and he's got an imperishable conviction, which is, I think he actually came out with this before Morvana did, but Morvana's obviously far more well known for it. I think actually Krios 2 has it, but anyway. So he heals a point every time you lose a dude. I'm not going to build a game plan around that because he's got nothing else. It's just a neat little trick, so it's pretty good. Command 10, which is always handy to have around, but in Menoth not really a massive factor. So his spells, which is 6, which is good spell selection. Crevasse, probably never get cast. Death Sentence is actually a really useful spell, but being range 8, you could potentially see that becoming range 10 with Silas. And being able to do a ride-by attack to walk forward and cast that and then come back into potential safety is pretty nice. I like that. It's also an upkeep, which is pretty cool. It's like looking at his spell list, right? They're all the weaker versions of spells that are elsewhere in the game. Like re-rolling missed hits against one model unit is shit compared to re-rolling missed hits for the entire unit against anyone, or Crippling Grasp, even dropping it by 2, so you don't need to reroll because you hit them. But yeah, like it's better to have than not have. And against someone that's, hello Peaches, we're doing a bit of recording here, Peach. Can you just relax for a second? All right, you gonna sit down? I'm talking about Krios 3. All right, you sit there. Death Sentence, all right spell, not great, fair enough. He's got Force Hammer, which is an effect that you do want to have in your bag sometimes, a throw or a slam, to be able to knock someone down. Getting around that high defense is a big deal. So that's something that you could potentially cast. And power 12 collateral damage is nice too. Sometimes your collateral damage is a bit lower than that, but yeah, that's decent. I don't mind that. Holy Ward, you can get his defense up to +2 and immune to spells. The immune to spells is a neat advantage because you normally have to take a devout for that. So having that ability on your Warcaster to take him defense 16, armor 17 is really nice. But unfortunately, it actually it's a bit of a catch-22 because the spell I think you want on Krios for most of the game is Warpath, which is his second to last spell. It's obviously a phenomenal spell in Circle when you've got a lot of movement shenanigans and all that sort of stuff, but in a faction that doesn't have fast-moving jacks with Pathfinder, it's good. Like I think I need to play this one on the table to really determine exactly how efficient it's going to be, because with Fire of Salvation, his main jack, you're going to potentially be able to get an extra additional 8 inches of movement on top of the potential 8 inches that he already has to charge, which is a long way. I mean, that's Epic Scar Overrun or Epic Scar Perdition sort of moves, which is classic stuff. But yeah, it's a bit risky because you don't want to give away too much focus when you've got Warpath on you because you only defense 14. So just a stray couple of infantry charging you could potentially kill you. So yeah, a bit tricky there. I think probably the way that I would do it is I would cast Warpath on him turn 1 and then make sure he's up fairly aggressively, and then turn 2 you would activate your models first, and then he would change to Holy Ward on himself to get into a threatening position. I think that's how I would try to run it. But yeah, and then the other thing is Ignite, and one of the things I said in another episode is if you've got Ignite on a caster, immediately that's a fucking decent caster. So this guy can put Ignite on Vengers, which I think is just fucking insane, especially when you account for their thing. I'm actually going to go and have a quick look at Vengers now, and I'm going to ignore the fact that I said I was going to do Temple Flame Guard. I might do them with Epic Fiora, and instead I'm going to do Exemplar Vengers with Krios. Yep, sweet. Battle driven, mad rule. Awesome. So they're power 9 Weapon Masters if they don't charge, power 14 if they do charge, power 16 with Ignite, power 18 if you damage them, please damage them, that'd be fucking great. And don't have Combat Rider. So used to Combat Rider, fuck, such a good spell. Or such a good ability rather. Ooh, defense 12, that's ugly. Mat 7's nice. Yeah, they're pretty good. Pretty good. They rely on you getting damage though, which is not a situation you generally want to be in with models in your army. Although with Warders it's a bit different because Warders are just like Dirtle Forward and you don't kill them while they're just going to stand there and fuck you up. But Vengers are sort of a bit more, you have to make them count. You have to make their damage count. So yeah, Vengers, good stuff. So I'll just go back to Krios because I didn't talk about his feat. And Krios, it's not a great feat. Like it's Purification as a feat. Okay, that's better than not having Purification as an option. But in Menoth, which is so blessed with so many other strong Purification casters and things, like you think, well, pretty average feat really. And then the ability for him to cast all of his spells without spending focus. Now that I can get behind, particularly when you're talking about getting Death Sentence out for free. Like, you might as well charge, feat, cast Ignite on yourself, cast Death Sentence on your opponent after drawing from a Wrack. That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. So you can reroll missed hits. I mean, Krios himself is probably not going to need to reroll missed hits. He's Mat 8. He's effective Mat 8 with Hand of Fate, so he's going to hit pretty much anything. But yeah, it's cool that you can do it. So it's a Warcaster that I think has a lot of depth to him. I think the list is going to be of absolute vital importance. Managing the focus that you want to give out, managing how your troops are going to be positioned, knowing that you've got allowed a lot of out of activation movements, all that sort of stuff creates some interesting things for Krios. I do like his ability to close out a game. I think that's a strong a strong ace to have in the deck, particularly when you've got the ability to go to a power 16. With Hand of Fate, you're going to kill anyone. Like, doesn't matter, Warlock, Warcaster, you'll just straight up kill them. So, he's got Blessed too. That's pretty good. Pretty good. That just makes Purification just like wasteful, doesn't it? I mean, I guess you can get rid of Admonition and shit like that. So, yeah, Krios 3. Super psyched to play him. Resnick, Amon, Krios 3, and Harbinger are the 4 casters that I just said. Yep. I reckon I could just play those 4 forever and be stoked. So, yeah, I'm going to play him. He'll probably actually be the first Warcaster I play, to be honest. Haven't really written a list that I'm happy with, but I think a couple of Vengers, or 1 unit of Vengers, Fire of Salvation, Choir, and then something that you can use to trigger your Vengeance moves, your free move from that dude, and then Warpath. So maybe 2 little Repenter Spray guys or something to give you some decent targets for the Warpath moves. So we'll just quickly talk about the Fire of Salvation, Krios's character Jack. He's good. I mean, he's got typical stats for a Menoth Jack, but speed 5 I think is definitely something to think about. His affinity is pretty rubbish with Krios, although with Krios 3, where he doesn't have Purification, the ability to dispel without necessarily having to use your feet, that's an advantage. And it's not necessarily offensive or defensive ones that you want to get off. It's the ones like Crippling Grasp that are on your units where you can just go book, and you can get rid of that. So you could use your Open Fist. It's only power 14. Book, book, strip off. A couple of upkeys which I'm used to having the Blood Hag. I'm used to having a Kraken. And if someone casts something on the Kraken, the Blood Hag just walks up behind him and goes book, book, strips it off, which is something a lot of people don't see coming. So having this just as a tool is useful. It's not definitely game changing, but it's definitely something that you'd rather have than not have. In terms of affinities, though, it's not the best one. But Holy Fervor, melee attack rolls are boosted. He's going to be mat 9. I can see it being maybe useful, but like, how many targets are you going to need to do that against? Well, I can see it working against like Sea of Peaches, heading off. I can see that working against something like Warp Wolves, where you need 5s to hit. You'll miss one of those, and you'd really just need to stick the hits because you're going to be power 20. So you might just be better off. Peach, don't do that. Get off there, crazy cat. If you had something like a Def 16 Rake or Angelius Def 15, I can see that definitely being the right option there because they don't have a lot of wounds. You're going to be power 20, so you're going to be a lot of damage. You might just be worthwhile popping a focus and getting those boosted attack rolls. And then if you kill the beast, then you're going to get a free attack, which gets you that focus back in a sense. So yeah, there'll be situations where that comes in useful. 10-19 is not great. Typical Menoth Jack stats, but power 18 before getting the Choir buff is rocking on. You could also put Ignite on him to get him to power 22, which is even more ballistic. I could see Ignite being the right home for him in the early game while you're waiting for your Avengers to come get into the positions. So Warpath there on Krios and then Ignite on the Fire of Salvation running forward. Look, the reason why this guy is money with Krios is because of the out of activation movement. Righteous Vengeance, you get a 5-inch advance, you get a 3-inch Warpath, and then you could potentially get a 8-inch charge. So you're talking about 16.5-inch threat, which is ridiculous. I have played against Krios a couple of times now, and one of the things that I really had to be cognizant of was the threat range of Fire of Salvation. And particularly given that Holy Fervor exists, you could get a mat 9 3d60 hit, so it doesn't matter if your defense is high, he can kill you from a long way downtown. So having him with Krios 3 is a pretty obvious combination. I think you're crazy not to do it. I like him with a few other casters, like I like him with the Mon as well. I could see him with the other Krioses quite comfortably, but without the speed increases, it's probably wasting him if you've got other spots for him. Yeah, I think he's for 9 points. He's quite good. Like that's pretty cheap for a character Jack, and I think he's gonna add some value. I'm just gonna go and have a quick look at what Chain Attack rated those dudes, Krios, because I'm interested in their rulings, thoughts. Casters, War Machine and Hordes. Just fun to get a different perspective from them versus my perspective. You know, in a lot of cases we'll probably agree, but sometimes we might disagree. So Krios 3, 5 for feet. Yeah, that's probably fair. I'd probably even maybe say 4. Don't know. Board control 5. See, I don't agree with that. When you've got Vengers and you've got such a long threat range, that creates board control by threat range. And I think for me, the type of list that you're going to create with him is going to have a lot of threat range, and that's going to be board presence, and that's going to equate to a lot of board control. So I'd be 6 or 7 there minimum. Synergy 7, yeah, Menoth casters. Hard to say anything lower than a 7 for most Menoth casters. Aggression, a 7, yeah, I think that's probably fair, because he does, that defense 14 is killer, and armor 17 is not great. It's adequate, but for Menoth it's fucking sensational. But for most frontline casters, it's probably a bit low, a bit on the low side. So with his aggression, he's got a decent threat range. So giving him the ability to feat and ignite himself, he's going to kill some shit. But you don't want him to be getting up there where he can die. So survivability 7, yeah, I can see that. I like Hollywood on him. Takes him to defense 16. Camping with a Wrack, he's going to be 24 armor, 16, 24. That's tough. It's tough to kill. 7's probably fair. See, the biggest survivability in my experience is distance, and he's got the ability to play from a long way back and still have an impact on the game. So I'd probably say he's maybe even more survivable than that. And Chain Attack gave him an overall grade of B. I think I would probably be rating him slightly higher, but yeah, I think I'd probably go A-, maybe A-, maybe slightly B+-ish. He just looks like a fun caster, and he looks like a caster that the more you play him, the more skillful you are, the more you'll get out of him, and that's the type of caster that I really enjoy. Ones that you get value from playing more and developing your skills with them more. Like, he's got a lot of options in any given game, particularly if you have the right list. I think you could do a lot of cool things with him, and he'd have great options against pretty much everyone. So one thing to note, he's got a tier list, which I'm a pretty big fan of, 2 units Avengers. I think I'd probably try that out. I don't know that it's going to be the optimum way to run him in the long run. Like, for example, Vlad 3, when I played him, I tried his tier list out, and I did not believe that it was the optimum tier list, the optimum list for him. I'm just actually going to talk about that right now, the tier list, because I've got it here. Reclaimers and Vassals and Choir. So immediately you've got all of the tools you need to run Jacks. Bonus. Fire Salvation, non-character Warjacks. Great, I can take everyone that matters. The only one you might want to take is the Avatar, but in this instance, he doesn't get to benefit from Warpath moves, so he's probably not the best option anyway. And then Exemplar units, hey, you can get Venger units, hey, Protectorate Cavalry units, so you could get the Flamebringers. How do Flamebringers work with him? Hollywood takes him to Def 16. Yeah, it's alright. Death Sentence helps. And Speed is obviously magic. He doesn't really do much else for him, does he? I guess Ignite's probably pretty good on him. Power 11 Weapon Masters. Yeah. You might take a min unit maybe. What else have you got? So, increase the field allowance of non-character cavalry units and solos by 1. So that's pretty cool. Includes 2 Venge units or 1 Venge unit. You get +1 in the starting roll. Big advantage. Going first with a Cav army is massive. You have a Choir unit in your army, and you have Fire Salvation. Sweet. So your Choir gives you advanced move for every Choir unit you have. And if you have Fire Salvation, you get heavy Warjacks without ranged weapons down by 1 point. So that right there, that is a very solid tier list, I think, and I could definitely see myself playing that. It's got all the tools actually, and he doesn't really need any damage debuffs either. So yeah, that's got some merit, that one. It'll allow you to free up your characters for pretty much your other lists, which is always nice, and still have a very viable list. Cool. So yeah, I talked about Vengers very briefly before, and I think Vengers are fucking awesome with him. Without him, yeah, I mean, Cav are a unit that takes a lot of table time to really get the best value out of. You need to play them and utilize all of their rules. You need to utilize ride by attacks. You need to utilize impact attacks. You need to utilize cavalry charge. You need to utilize tall in the saddle. Like once you have a handle on all of those rules and know when to do which one, that's when you'll actually start to get value out of the models. And these guys are in the unenviable position, the same as Ulans, as needing to charge to get that really high power up. But a Mat 7 ride by attack is handy. A Mat 7 Power 11 Weapon Master attack is very handy, and a Mat 7 Power 13 Weapon Master attack, if you ignite and get battle driven, is awesome. So you don't necessarily need to charge to get value from them. And look, I don't think I'd use them in a lot of other lists. I think they'd probably see a bit of game in a Harpy list, particularly because you can martyr them, and they're a very valuable martyr target. And she can also give them a bit higher speed, which is good with Crusader's Call. I think you probably want Saxon Oric, because I can tell you for a fact that Cav are fucking ballistic when they stand behind a wall and then charge over the top of it. And you don't want to rely on damage to get that Pathfinder. A smart opponent won't give you that. So having Saxon Oric to give them the ability to charge over walls gives them both defensive protection and offensive application. So yeah, that's definitely something you want to look at incorporating. Avengers, pretty good. So I had a tournament on the weekend just gone, and I played my Kador, and just out of interest, I played a game against a Menoth army. I played against Severius 2, and he had 3 Reckoners, which was an interesting sort of list, particularly with awareness, and he's got the ability to feed them all focus, and basically just keep peppering your caster every turn. So that's quite a potent list. So haven't looked at him yet. I'm going to definitely have a look over his spell list, because to be honest, I knew nothing about him before that game, so I had a bit of a read about him while the deployment was going, and I thought, he's a bit interesting. Most people play Severius 1 that I've played against, so Severius 2, I have no clue, but I'm going to have a look at him. So, and his feat was awesome. He took 4 of my Ulans away and said, I'm just going to kill them now, and they're gone. So, I mean, that's a nearly 10-point swing, which is pretty massive. But anyway, I didn't win the game, but I'm okay with it, because I wasn't too worried about that game. I was trying something a bit new. But I'm not going to talk about that, because that's private information that you have to watch in my WTC coverage if I get around to doing that anytime soon. But thanks everyone. It's starting to build some momentum now, Wrack City, which is cool. Going to have a few more episodes come out in the next few weeks and months, and really starting to look forward to putting together an army and getting them on the table. I rekindled my love for Kador the other day, because I found a list that I was super excited about, which was really good, leading to the WTC obviously, and I'm pretty pumped up to finish that strongly and hopefully do well there. But I also just the other day bought the first part of my Menoth army. I bought quite a few casters. It was a trade and stuff. So yeah, I've got the beginnings, and they'll be here soon. So depending on how my Kador actually painting is going, if I don't need to do any Kador painting, I might actually get the Menoth painting underway and get started. So thanks everyone for the support, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Wrack City Bitch. See you guys. Wrack City Bitch, Wrack City Bitch, 10-10.